Recording in progress.
We continue reading with 4th chapter, Transcendental Knowledge. And we are going to read from the text 15. We have been hearing transcendental knowledge from Krishna. He is giving this transcendental knowledge to Arjuna. So we're continuing with that. Evam gyatva kritam karma purver api mumukshubhihi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purve purva taram kritam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts, and some of them are materially free. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. So here Krishna is saying, Krishna is saying that the devotees, the liberated souls, they are acting in Krishna consciousness. So it's not that they're not doing anything. It doesn't mean that once a person gets liberated, then he doesn't do anything. No, he is an example to others. He sets an example for us to follow, that how we can get liberation also by understanding Krishna's transcendental nature, how we can also get out of this material world. So Prabhupada is saying there are two classes of men. One has full of material desires, one has no material desires. So the ones who have no material desires, they also act in Krishna consciousness. Why? So that the ones with material desires can follow them. So Krishna consciousness is for both. Doesn't mean that, oh, once I get liberated, I don't need to act in Krishna consciousness. Foolish persons or neophyte in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna's desire to retire from activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. So Arjuna, he was saying, I'm not going to do my duty. He's a Kshatriya. He is supposed to fight. He's trained to fight. But suddenly in the middle, when the war is just about to begin, he said, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to become a renunciate. I'm going to go live in the forest. And how will I maintain myself? I'll beg, I'll do something. Don't worry about me. So he does not want to continue to do the duties of a Kshatriya, but he wants to renounce. So Krishna is telling him, hey, don't artificially renounce your duties, Your nature is of a Kshatriya. You're going to fight. So you do your duty. Do what you're supposed to do, but with the understanding that you're not the body, you're the soul. So do that duty for my pleasure. Krishna is saying, you do your duty, but don't be attached to the results of your duty. The results, you give that to me. You renounce those results to me. So that is Krishna consciousness. It doesn't mean that Krishna consciousness means doing nothing. Why? Because we can't do nothing. We can't ever do nothing. We are constantly going to do something or the other. So Arjuna's desire to retire from the activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof, making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. So Krishna is saying that you don't have to just sit down and do nothing and pretend that you have renounced, that you're so detached, that you're some elevated, advanced person. No, he's saying you need to learn how to act. What are you supposed to do till the time you're in the body? How you're supposed to use this body. This is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, and through Arjuna to us. Arjuna is here advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of the Lord's previous disciples, such as the sun god Vivaswan, as mentioned herein before. The Supreme Lord knows all his past activities, as well as those of persons who acted in Krishna consciousness in the past. Therefore, he recommends the acts of the sun god, who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that you're not just the only Kshatriya, you know. The sun god is also there. I gave him this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and he did not retire. He didn't go to the forest and say, oh, now that I have gotten this knowledge, I'm not going to do the duty of every day rising in the morning, setting at night, giving light to the whole universe. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I become Krishna conscious. Sun God doesn't do that. He is doing his duty for the pleasure of Krishna. That is what Krishna is saying. We have to learn how to act. Not that we have to retire from our duties. We have to learn how we have to act so that those activities can be Krishna conscious. Because we get very attached. I'm going to do this because I'm going to get this. That's what we do. But Krishna is saying you do it because it's your duty to act. So you just do it with that mindset, with that consciousness that I'm doing it because this is my duty for the pleasure of Krishna. Because Krishna said that I've created this varna and ashram. We read in the previous verses. He's saying, I'm the one who's creating this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihast, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. So he's saying, wherever you are, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just do your duty for my pleasure. This is what he's saying. The sum and substance of what he's saying. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So now why is he saying don't get attached to the result? Why he's saying you act in Krishna consciousness?
Because then again, if you're getting into the result expectation, then it's like again another material world you're entering, no?
Yes.
It's not the path to the Lord, no? It is not his path. He wants you to come back home, not get into this moh maya ka jal and again get into the thing and like, you know, or andar hi andar aap ghuste jaoge na moh maya mein.
That's right. Very good. Thank you. But now I will say, I don't want this moh maya ka jal. I want to give up everything. And I'm going to just give up everything because I don't want. What do you think of that?
No, see,
Does Krishna
you
approve?
have come down with your own will and wish, but at the same time, he's assigned you your duties also, no, as a mother, as a wife, as a human being. तो आप वो सब duties करो, लेकिन उसमें expectations कुछ नहीं रखो. Number one. Number two, do it with full faith that I'm doing it for you, so that you let me come back to you.
Yeah, do it for pleasure of Krishna.
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you. Now, what will happen is, but our material attachments are so strong. So, I will say I'm doing it for pleasure of Krishna. But slowly, I start getting attached to the result. Then what I have to do?
No, if you're doing it for pleasure of Krishna, then that greediness should not be there. That I should expect this, and somebody has to return back to me in this favor and that favor. Then you have to be either one ways. Either you're doing it for him, and then don't expect anything, and like just do it out of. Like you just think you're doing it for him, तो मालूम है उसमें से सब best मिलेगा, लेकिन physically कुछ नहीं आने वाला आपको उसमें.
That's right. Thank you. तो इसके लिए फिर हमको reminder चाहिए गरी, right? So that's why we have to hear and chant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So फिर we have to be reminded. Oh, ठीक है, you do your duty, but don't get attached. You do it for pleasure of Krishna. पर हम जल्दी गरी भूल जाते हैं इसको. So we continue to hear and chant from within the association of devotees.
True.
Hearing and chanting, that will help us to do our duties in Krishna consciousness. And at the same time, it will help us to get more and more attached to Krishna. More and more we will get more attached to him. Then automatically we will not be so attracted to the results of the activities. It will be automatic then. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So shall we go to the next one then? Did anyone else want to say anything about this? Because this is what, it's quite a big, many people, they think, oh, I'm become Krishna conscious, so I have to stop doing everything now. And I have to renounce the world. We get carried away by these things, but that's exactly what Krishna does not want us to do. If he wanted us to do that, he would have told Arjuna that, okay, you don't fight, I will fight for you. You sit down in the chariot at the back and I will fight for you. But he doesn't say that. He says, no, you fight. But you leave the results to me. So we should understand this in a clear way, not to artificially renounce. Okay, thank you. Then going to the next one, would anyone like to read this verse? Chant the Sanskrit?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Kim karma kim karme, just kim karma kim akarmeti kavayo pyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yadyatva mokshase shubhat.
Okay. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. So now we have to follow. We have to follow the acharyas. So that that means we have to follow the examples that is laid down for us, so that we can be sure, okay, yes, I'm on the right path. I am really acting in Krishna consciousness. So we don't make up anything, because our minds are very fertile. We can just make up anything, concoct anything in our mind. Krishna is saying, no, you follow the example. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. And the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. So we can see Bhagavad Gita is not, when Krishna is telling Arjuna, it's not the first time it's being spoken. It's spoken even much earlier than that. Sun god. So it was calculated as since 2 million years, it is there in human society. Manu is the Vaivasta Manu, the current Manu whose rule is going on. He heard it from his father, the sun god Vivaswan, and Manu told it to Ikshvaku. So this is the parampara system. It's coming in the line of disciplic succession. So Bhagavad Gita comes down in 2 paramparas. One is from the Raj Rishis and one is from the spiritual masters, the sadhus. The Raj Rishis, they are the kings. But they are also spiritual masters. It's just the duty is to be a king. They are not just ordinary kings. No, they are devotees. They're pure devotees of the Lord. And that's how they're able to receive this knowledge and pass down the knowledge. So therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. So the disciplic succession always starts from Krishna. He is the one who starts the disciplic succession, because The spiritual knowledge is concerning him. He is the most perfect authority to speak about spiritual knowledge. So he's the one who begins. He's the original spiritual master. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the steps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. So we have to understand Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna understood it. Arjuna, after he hears the Bhagavad Gita, he tells Krishna, oh, I understand now that you are the Supreme Lord. All the great authorities say that you are the Supreme Lord. And I also declare it. I believe you are the Supreme Lord. And I will do as you are telling me to do. I will fight because you are telling me to fight. So as Arjuna understood the Bhagavad Gita, we should similarly understand Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna understood it, not making up any other concoctions, because many people try to misinterpret the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. It is said that one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord himself. Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. Bhagavatam Canto 6, Chapter 3, Text 19. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. So now suddenly I might say, I'm going to create a religious principle and everyone should follow it. And do you think I am fit enough to make a religious principle? Or I say, no, I have studied enough now. I think I'm going to create a religious principle. What do you think?
No, we cannot.
Yes, why we cannot?
Because we are imperfect. We have 4 defects in our system. We cheat others. We are in illusion. Forgetting the 2.
Yeah, very good.
Others. We forget. We tend to forget. And the 4th one, I don't remember.
We make mistakes.
Yeah, we make mistakes.
And our senses are imperfect.
Imperfect, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, if we make up something, it's going to be imperfect because we have these 4 defects. But religious principles have to be perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So they have to be laid down by the Lord himself. And they are laid down by the Lord himself. Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. No one can manufacture a religious principle. No one. Only Krishna does that. So one must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahalad, Bhishma, Sukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, Janak, and Bali Maharaj. These are the 12 great Mahajans. They are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That if we want to act in Krishna consciousness, we should follow in the footsteps of these great personalities. They are the teachers. They're teaching us how to act, how to engage in Krishna consciousness. Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahalad, Bhishma, Sukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, Janak, and Bali Maharaj. They are great devotees of the Lord. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. If I say, okay, I'm going to decide by my own mind, I'm going to try to understand who am I, just by my own mind, without hearing from any authority or anything. I'll just try to manifest. It's going to be just my imagination. I'm just becoming a servant of my mind then and my false ego. But that's not true. That's not self-realization. That is just my imagination. I'm sorry. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. That's why that so many verses, Krishna is taking so much effort to help to explain to Arjuna and thereby to us. Hey, this is action, this is inaction. Only if you do inaction can you get out of this. Because we are very, very attached to the material world. We may think, no, I'm not very attached. I'm very detached now. Now I'm very renounced. But we don't even know how deep our attachment is. We have been living here since millions of births. So this attachment is very, very deep. And that's the reason we have to take the instructions from Krishna as he's speaking in Bhagavad Gita and act in Krishna consciousness so that we can go back home at the end of this very life. No need to continue to keep coming again and again. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anyone wanted to add anything or share anything? No, then we'll read one more probably.
I
Would
read?
somebody like this, please?
Yeah. Karmano yapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanasya bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. So action means karma, origin, or ordinary karma. Inaction means while acting also, we are acting, but we are not going to get the result of that action. That's why it's called inaction. Not that we are not going to do anything, not that we are going to sit like a stone. No, that act in such a way that we do not get implicated in the reactions. And unauthorized actions. Unauthorized actions are vikarma, actions which are forbidden. That the scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, they have rules and regulations. They have some injunctions, and they say, hey, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. So this is rules and regulations mentioned in the Vedas. So these are unauthorized actions. So one has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions, because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. So now one may say, okay, I'm going to do my duty, but I want the result. Why shall I give it for Krishna? Why for Krishna? So that's the reason Prabhupada is saying, we have to understand what is our relationship with the Supreme Lord. That every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. And so every living entity actually should be acting in Krishna consciousness. And that is the our true position, our original position of every living entity. Not that, oh, only some souls who are right now in a particular body or in a particular country or in a particular planet. No, each and every living entity. When we say living entity, not the body, but the soul. And this is what we have to learn. What is my relationship with the Supreme Lord? And once one understands this relationship, then one is perfectly acting in Krishna consciousness, because that is the liberated platform then. That is not on the material platform. There is no material desire anymore, because one has perfectly understood, I'm not this body. I am the soul. I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. And all my activities are for the pleasure of Krishna. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed toward this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarmas or prohibited actions. So how we can say that entire Bhagavad Gita is directed toward this conclusion? Anyone can say any verse from the Bhagavad Gita which emphasizes this? Shita?
I'm not remembering.
Sarva dharmam parityagya.
Yeah.
Krishna is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying, you just surrender to me. Now, it's a very bold statement. It's a very bold statement to say, Krishna is saying to every living entity, you just surrender to me. Does anybody else say that boldly? Can we say that to everyone? We wish we could. We pretend as if we are doing that, but we can't. Only Krishna, he says, just surrender unto me, and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. So this goes to show that every living entity is actually Krishna conscious. Every living entity has an eternal relationship with Krishna. Otherwise, how could he make such a statement? But he is making these statements. And so to understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. So as we say, if we want to become a good lawyer, we have to enroll ourselves in a law school, learn from the good teachers who are teachers of the law, the school which is authorized by the law board, and then a person can become an authorized lawyer. So for us, if we really want to get liberation, if we are, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, if one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand these things, then we have to understand all this. And how can we understand? We associate with the devotees who are in Krishna consciousness, the authorities in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. If we say, no, it's okay, I don't need to associate with the devotees. I don't want to hear from anyone else. I will just do whatever I have to do. It's very difficult to get liberation like that. It's very difficult because the modes of nature are very strong, very, very strong. We are entangled in the modes of nature. But when we associate with the devotees, they keep reminding us, they keep telling us about Krishna. They keep telling us, hey, hear about Krishna, chant Krishna's name, engage all your activities for the service of Krishna. You surrender all your results to Krishna. They keep telling us this. And we have to follow these instructions. And gradually, it will become more and more clear. And then can go back home, back to Godhead. Back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. So by association with devotees, then we can learn how to act in Krishna consciousness. And that will lead us to liberation from material bondage. The devotees engage us in devotional service, which begins by hearing and chanting. So we continue to hear and chant in the association of devotees. Any comments or questions?
No, all good.
All good. Vishal, any question?
Hare Krishna, no question.
Hare Krishna. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. So shall we stop here for today and chant one round?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.